When Harry Met Sally, a photography podcast, would like to acknowledge the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, the traditional owners of the lands and waters in which we are recording this podcast on today. As people who work with artists seeking meaning and knowledge through storytelling, we recognise the first peoples of this nation have been doing so for over 60,000 years. We pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging across Australia. Always was, always will be Aboriginal land.
None of this is possible without the fantastic help we've had from
Collart. Thank you so much for the support on providing your pod suites. Nikon Australia, incredible ambassadors for the photography industry.
And Ted's Camera Store, also great ambassadors, have been around forever and are doing wonderful work. And A&L Artistic Framers, who have been framing photography and art for as many years as I can think. Thank you all so very much.
Hi, Sally.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Here we are.
And we are so happy to have Michael Jalaru Torres in the pod suites.
How are you, Michael? You get a double. Hi, Michael.
Hello there. Hello.
How are you?
Yeah,
Welcome.
I'm great, thanks, yes.
Fantastic. Where have you come from today? We know we've got you for an hour or so quickly.
Just from a conference at ACME. So,
Right.
Yeah.
And how's that going down there?
Yeah, good.
Yeah?
A lot of networking and meeting new people and meeting up with old friends. Yeah.
And me. I'm going to ask.
I have to cut her off or else I don't get a question in.
Go, you go.
So this is the Australian International Documentary Conference.
Yes.
And you talked a little bit just earlier about kind of almost going back to where you started a little bit, in that you started in film, in creatively. Is that correct? Or
Yeah, I started off in radio and television back home in Broome. So we've got our own radio television station there. So as a young fellow and back in 97, I went there to get some training and fell in love with media and, the television side of things, and always had a dream of being a filmmaker at some point. But
Where did that come from?
my family is really heavily involved in media and got a lot of family members who have been actors and filmmakers and musicians. So it kind of just runs in the family.
Tell me, are you a Broome baby?
Yeah.
It's a big deal being a Broome baby.
Yeah.
If you're born in Broome, it's very special.
Yeah, it's a special place to call home, you know. And,
absolutely.
Wherever you travel, anywhere in the world in Australia, it's good to know that, your home is Broome and you come home and get inspired by a lot of people there and the history there. And, so...
And so are there other photographers in your family, or are they... what sort of areas of media are they in?
Probably not at the level that I am, but, I do have a cousin who's keen into photography, but I think she's just following her other careers of, just normal work first, and I think hopefully she'll get to that point.
So did you, was it a love of actual photography that kind of brought you from media into being a bit more specific in photography, or is it just kind of how the chips fell a little bit?
Well, no, I'm old enough to be part of the Kodak generation, take your Kodak moments. So, yeah, so, that love of, having photos, and, my grandparents had slides as well. And so growing up, I had my own little film camera and taking, happy photos, happy snaps, pretty much what Instagram is nowadays. And then got busy with life and couldn't afford film cameras at that time, and getting film developed, especially in Broome, was quite expensive, especially you had to send it away.
I was going to say, I think you probably sent it down to Perth or somewhere, didn't you?
Yeah, you had to send it away. And so just take that extra bit of time to get your photos back. And so I knew digital photography was coming around the corner. I just waited until they became more affordable, which was about 2010, around that time. And bought myself a Canon 7D. Sat in a box for about 6 months because I didn't know what I wanted to photograph, and then did what every new photographer does and took photos of trees and everything else like that, and realised I didn't have the patience for that.
You didn't have the patience for trees. I love that.
I was just thinking before when you said that you were waiting for digital photography. I was just thinking how much patience you must have.
Yes, I know.
But not enough for trees.
Not enough for trees. You are hilarious. And Broome, I mean, think of all that. We talked before about the staircase to the moon and the rising tides but was that just something that because were brought up there and it was just part of your life that you didn't feel the need or the want to photograph it?
I guess growing up, it all was normal to me. And back then and probably now, you could throw a stick and hit a landscape photographer. So I just didn't want to be part of that crowd.
Fair enough.
Need to do something different. So I really got into more abstract landscape. Mm-hmm. And that's using a lot of filters and camera movement to capture more like a water painting style of capture. And kind of love that because for me it's more about capturing the emotional connection to landscape opposed to a perfect picture.
Yeah.
And so.
And so that leads me on to were you fully self-taught or did you go to university or did you do any courses or did you have a mentor that you were working with when you picked up your first camera?
I did a brief photography course at TAFE, and that was just really using black and white film and to develop it, but that's about it. Mm-hmm. Most of it was manuals, seeing what other people doing. Back then it was pretty hard to get mentored because, photographers back in the 90s and the 2000s were quite protective, so it wasn't really that easy to get access to someone to help.
Yeah.
Especially the guys you were going to throw sticks at.
Yeah, pretty much. So YouTube then, finally people started doing stuff on YouTube and just realised I was doing a lot of mistakes that I could have learnt quicker.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you learnt, and that's one of the things I wanted, where I'm going with this, because being self-taught predominantly, we talk a lot about in photography and art is that there's no right or wrong and it's about just finding a way, isn't it? And that's what you've done with your career. Would that be fair to say that? You've sort of made some mistakes, learnt from it and check, let's go on, what's next?
Yeah, I guess, you make the same mistakes, but it's a matter of how long it takes and how quick you can adjust those mistakes. And for me, it took a while at the beginning because, accessibility to knowledge was quite hard. But yeah, now, you can shoot almost anything. And people nowadays can really learn a lot quicker and I guess avoid some mistakes, but everyone has to make a mistake.
Do you know what I was going to say? You make a mistake now and people go, oh my God, this is fantastic. Yeah. And you go, shit, it was a mistake. Yeah, great. Yeah. I love that.
I meant that.
Yeah, but always intention.
It wasn't a mistake.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
It goes, you got to learn the rules to break them, and I think that's the same thing with photography.
I love that. You got to learn the rules to break them.
Yeah, I always tell my students that. Like, you learn everything, but then, just throw them away. Make it your own.
That's about life too, isn't it?
How do you make things your own?
Yeah.
I just want to. You just said something really beautiful earlier that you see so many people photographing the landscape in Broome, but you want to connect the emotional. You want to photograph the emotional connection to landscape. So that's such a lovely idea, and I think that's teaching students, that's what we try and communicate. You need to bring something more than just taking a pretty picture. So it's a pretty loaded question, but how do you photograph an emotional connection to landscape? What is that for you?
I think you got to be lucky of the type of landscape. And with Broome, we're quite lucky with really vibrant colours and contrast.
Yeah.
So for me, is capturing the colours and the contrast and the texture. And if you've ever been to Broome, when you see my photos, it's Broome for some reason, and that's the mixture of all those above. And if you haven't been to Broome, it makes no sense in a way.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. But when you see it, you go, yeah, I know
get
that's
it.
Broome.
And you're also a poet.
Well, yeah,
You know it.
Yeah. It's still working on that. I use poetry to describe my work, my fine art work, because I find it difficult to do a description precise, literally,
yeah.
And
but don't you feel like imagery doesn't always need it? It is what it is. Does it need us? I find that quite tough sometimes, people having to describe what it is. It just is.
Yeah, and sometimes it works. Like people connect with the image and the poetic description. Sometimes it doesn't, you know.
So what comes first, the words or the image?
Either. Sometimes I'll have an idea of something and I'll try and capture it. And then sometimes I'll capture something and then it'll speak to me.
Yeah.
And then just do it in a poetic way.
I love that idea of, because it's interesting how you responded with, you're like, why do you have to have words with it? But I love words and imagery together. I think that's like so beautiful. In fact, there's this wonderful photographer called Judith Crispin, and she says that, because she's a poet and she's also a photographer, and she says it's like looking at two sides of the same tree, that they work hand in hand together. And I really love that analogy.
I do love words and imagery together, but what I do find difficult is like an artist's, what is it called when they've got to do their synopsis of their image, like telling us what their image is.
Oh, that's
different.
Yeah,
that's what
yeah.
the statement. That's what I'm talking about. But
a
poetry
statement should never be like, this is
but so
what
many
you're
of them
looking
are.
at.
Oh, but I feel like so many of them are. Whereas working like this and with poetry and it's speaking to you, and for us to be going, wow, and because I have spent a lot of time in Broome, as we talked about before, I totally get your work.
Yeah. And, you know, sometimes with the statements, you know, I've found that depending on where it's going, so if a curator sees it, you know, sometimes I do want more of a detailed description.
Exactly.
And sometimes the stuff I do, you know, they gets lost in them because it's not as academic
That's what
explained
yes,
to them.
the academia of it.
Yeah.
That's
Well, you have
where
to know
my
your
knickers get in a
audience,
twist.
I guess. Yeah. So does that, you talked a little bit before about sort of a more writing and directorial kind of approach to filmmaking now?
Yeah, well, you know, I see myself as a storyteller.
Yeah.
And whatever medium that I choose to tell a story is that medium.
Yeah.
And obviously to get into documentary filmmaking and, you know, to get the funding, you need to have credits and all this stuff. So I've always been at the level where I didn't have the right credits, like a director or producer or screenwriter. And I just finished my first directing project for the WA Museum, which now allows me to go for certain funding. So
Yes.
Woohoo!
yeah, so
Congratulations.
Yeah, that's great.
it's a crazy way of doing things in
Yeah.
that, because I didn't go to film school or anything like that. So
You've earned it.
So is that, did you learn from your family, if, you know, they're all in media, or was it, again, something that you just kind of kept on trialling?
Squeaky wheel.
it's a bit of family and just the love of films and stuff. And it's more about, you know, getting the courage to give it a go.
Yeah.
And I was so busy with photography in that, that filled my cup for so long, where now I want to re-envision those stories, but as as motion, you know, and sound. So.
And what is? Can you talk to us a little bit about what your stories are about? Are you always? Are you on the same path with your stories all the time, or do they change? What inspires you to tell a story? And I'll shut up so you can talk.
I guess a lot of my inspiration is where I'm from, where Broome is quite isolated. So we do have a lot of, I guess, crazy people in culture that is quite isolating. So, you know, we've got some zany characters, but then, you know, inspirational characters. You know,
talk about some crazy characters. Give me one. I love a crazy character.
Well, it's funny. Like I've got a mate who did the whole art school stuff, went to New York and everything. He's going to hate me for mentioning him.
Great.
But
name and shame.
You don't have to name and shame.
But I will, because I'm really trying to push him to be an artist.
Whoever you are, you're about to be named. Listen, go.
No, I won't name him, but you'll know it's him.
Okay.
But, you know, he's this buff, brawly tugboat driver.
Great. I didn't think you were going to say that.
He has amazing black and white contrasting sketches. And of
So
people.
an illustrator.
An illustrator. Just amazing work.
Okay.
That is stunning. And he's a reluctant artist because he just does it for himself, you know, which is great. And I love that. But the world needs to see his work.
Okay, tugboat guy, this is a call out. Contact us after you've heard this. we want to get your work out there.
He's definitely going to hate me for saying that.
So in the subject line, when you email me, it's Tugboat Guy.
Tugboat Guy.
Okay.
Yeah. But, I mean, people like that, because, part of me is to, people who inspire me, who I can see them that they're stuck in a circle, and want to find a way out. And because I was in that space for a while, and, I found a way out. So I really love to meet people who I can at least give a nudge or inspire for them to grow and show the world their beautiful art or their beautiful story. And for me, doing that as a photo series, I want to do more of that. I haven't done enough of it. I've just been busy with other work.
So busy with other work, other paying work or other work?
Commercial work.
So you're feeding yourself and you're feeding your soul. You've got your two different avenues. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I mean, I started my photography more, shooting friends and everything else and events, and then I really got into fine art photography, which is my real love in photography. And then I did a couple of crazy ways of getting into exhibitions. I did a trip around Perth, Melbourne, Sydney, and went to all the galleries that I knew did photography and walked in, gave them my card, introduced myself, and that's it. Didn't show them any of my work, just introduced myself.
Wow.
And then
that
went home.
takes a lot of gumption.
Yeah, just did it, and then I got a call from Sydney to do a group show. And then I did a group show there. It was pretty successful. I actually took roughly a handful of the red soil from Broome and laid it out.
Oh.
So I showed the abstract work, and the redness and blue, and said, well, this is the soil that...
Wow.
Because, sometimes I don't believe you the soil's that red.
Yeah.
And so I put it on the ground and people just walk around and said, yeah, walk on it. So they walk around on bare feet and made tracks.
I love interaction.
Yeah. And from that, then I did a solo show in Perth. And because some of my earlier works actually carved the prints to make shapes and lines and that. And then I delete the digital file, so they're one-off prints. And everyone thought I was crazy doing that. But as soon as the people heard it, they wanted to see it and sold half the show, which is great. And then,
so that's the ultimate unique.
Got to hook them in somehow, and be different.
Did you bring some soil for us?
No.
What?
Next time, you got to go Broome.
Can we come up?
Your own,
podcast from Broome with all your mates. Tugboat Guy.
Tugboat Guy.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
So I put people on the spot every time.
We're keen to travel this
We're
thing.
keen to travel. We're going to go on tour.
Yeah, I think you should, because, doing it on phone doesn't really work that well. I think podcast, so.
Do you think there'd be a big calling for us up in Broome?
Yeah, at least WA, in Perth, do it there. There's a few,
No, I want to go to Broome.
Well, you can do that. There's some crazy lightning photographers there, storm chasers.
Yes. Yeah.
They go middle of the night, lightning all around. Beautiful work.
Wow.
I don't, like I said, I don't have the
That would
patience
fit in
for
with
that.
me. I was born on Halloween in a thunderstorm, so I'd fit right in with the storm chasers.
There you go.
Oh, wow. Okay, so apart from working in Broome, where else have you sort of worked commercially?
So I moved to Melbourne with my wife. She's from Melbourne. And just for a change, and that's when I got into more commercial photography, because I knew when I was here, I'm better off doing commercial and linking up and networking, so that I can create a name for myself. If I do go home to Broome, I've got a name that I can get to work, which is harder when you're in Broome because no one knows you. So I made a name here through ACME, AFL, a few other government agencies and City of Melbourne and stuff like that.
Who do you barrack for?
Freo Dockers, of course.
Okay.
WA.
Okay, it's over. Session's over.
Yeah.
I know.
So, I got in with the AFL because, one of those bucket list things for me was to shoot an AFL game and maybe shoot an AFL grand final.
Fantastic.
So I just humbugged, got through to someone in the AFL, a beautiful lady, Sarah, and then she had the same dream. So got all these plans to shoot the Dream Time of the G and the grand final. And then COVID came, so I put everything on hold or anything. But I managed to then do the grand final in Perth, just as, shooting around the stands in colour. It was great. Came back to Melbourne, did the Dream Time of the G game, and then did a the All-Star game in Perth.
What an extraordinary spectacle that is. I went for the first time last year.
Yeah.
I'm not hugely into footy, but some of my family are, and I went, and it was just, I just went for that, actually.
Yeah.
It was wild.
And, you know, as a photographer and, you know, loving AFL, seeing it on TV forever and, like, being able to
there.
It's a dream that seems impossible because how do you get in?
Yeah.
It's quite a really niche market, very hard to get in, and I found a way.
But it
Good for
sounds like you find a like. I think this is really important because you work hard.
Yeah,
like
don't
it
give
sounds
up.
like
Yeah.
you are really going for it. Like, you know, Broome is kind of quite a small place at the other end of Australia, but you came to Melbourne and you went for it. You know, and you were saying the similar thing about, you know, going around Australia, giving your card to loads of galleries, like. To put that much effort in, not many people do that.
Well, it's also quite humble the way you've gone about things as well. And one of the things that you mentioned too was Sarah, whoever Sarah is, but connecting and networking with people and finding that synergy with somebody that is prepared to help you and to work with you as well. I think that's, how important is that?
Yeah, and I think, you know, sometimes when you do get a no, it's just a no for that moment.
Yeah.
You know, it can be a yes later on. So
Yes.
you keep that connection and, you know, and
Good.
and then people
Good
say,
advice.
oh, you know, they didn't give up. And so they'll contact you
Yeah.
or something. So, and, you know, sometimes it's just not the right time.
Look at
Yeah.
the woman that wrote Harry Potter. They said no to her 50 times before somebody picked her up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think as
No, it's just a
creatives, we
word.
can be very sensitive, and the no can, you know, crush us a
Well,
little
I had a bit
but
of a moment
actually
last
just
week,
to-
didn't I?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you got to follow your dreams. Otherwise, if you don't follow them, it's just an idea.
Yes.
You know, so you got to push through it and
I love that.
and find other ways to get to the same destination.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and you know, and that's why when I was in Melbourne and seeing how hard it took me to do what I needed to do, I understood that a lot of people aren't like that.
Yeah.
So for me in the photography side, that's why, you know, I talked to a few people, and that's when I started to think of coming up with a community of First Nation photographers, which is the Black Lens.
Yeah.
Great, what a lovely segue.
Yeah, I love that.
Let's
yeah.
talk about that. Good on you, baby.
Not your first radio.
Yeah, okay. Let's talk about the
Softly
Black Lens.
diverting.
Go on. Well done. Okay. It's the layout, you know, okay, he's good.
Yeah, no.
Let's talk about the Black Lens.
Yeah, so being in Melbourne, I thought I'd take the opportunity to obviously help myself, but then also help others around Australia because I was on that side in Broome. So I thought there must be an easier way for people to find a pathway to get to the dream destination in photography. And so I just started messaging everyone online, and then this was just
Who's everyone? What sort of everyone?
black photographers that I knew.
Okay.
And then I asked them who do they know, and then we slowly started this community. And then COVID happened, and then so it was easier then to connect with everyone because everyone was home. And then
Oh, that's so interesting, isn't it?
yeah,
Yeah.
And so
It did
everyone
bring
had
out some good.
yeah, so everyone kind of had the similar pros and cons and gripes of being a photographer, especially being a black photographer. So we all kind of, you know, worked together, shared ideas, and then really the matter is, you know, everyone helps each other and lift at the same time, opposed
And
to
how-
waiting for someone to get up there in their own silo and then try and help downwards.
And
Yeah.
how many black photographers are there within your community?
At the moment, the ones that I know of, there's about 45.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there's definitely a lot more.
Okay.
And there's a lot more coming
So
out of COVID.
Is
Yeah.
it a so the ones that you know of, so is it that people aren't it's not a membership necessarily,
No.
it's just a collaborative community. Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
interested in, you said you all had similar pros and cons. Can you touch on some of those, of what the pros and cons were of being a black photographer?
I guess, you know, being overlooked because I guess it's every career as well, just being Indigenous in this country, you kind of look down upon like you don't have the skills or you don't belong in a way.
And every one of them felt that?
At some point, yeah. Especially even though in their own community as well as, you know, when they do move elsewhere, you know, there's a lot of subtlety to it, and then there's a lot of in-your-face moments. And because a lot of us feel, you know, our culture and our people are being photographed by non-Indigenous people,
Yeah.
and they're the ones who benefit from it. And those who are Indigenous who want to be photographers, like for them to capture the same stories in the same events, there's always this type of a gatekeeping. And the gatekeeping can be quite soft and it can be quite hard. And sometimes, you'll get subtle things, if you do shoot someone, like if you're a black photographer and you do shoot someone who's non-Indigenous, subtle things like, oh, you are a good photographer, or you know what you're doing, which is a slight, put down
yeah,
in a way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which, goes off, I don't care, but I know a lot of people it kind of affects them.
Yeah.
So, some people have not as much, resilience in that regard. But, it's about showing people, look, there's a way around things.
Yeah.
There's sometimes, because it always comes up, a white male-dominated industry, but, it's that can be a cop-out.
Yeah.
That's an excuse sometimes,
Yeah.
And I think some photography is quite hard. Some I wouldn't do because it's just hard on the body.
Yeah.
And like, why would you want to do it?
Why? Yeah. Yeah.
Late hours, heavy gear,
yeah,
in rain. It's like, surely there's something else you want to do. And sometimes it's cost. Certain photography, you need certain lenses, certain bodies. You know, and not everyone can afford it. So it's all those things.
And on the flip side, what are some of the pros?
Pros is in a really fast emerging industry, and the pride that people in a community see that, a black photographer is coming to photograph them. You can see the inspiration you give to them.
Yeah.
The kids and that, because usually it's just a white photographer coming in and, they play up for the camera, but then that's it. They always see it as something that's not attainable to them.
Yeah.
But when they do see a black photographer come in, they be inspired by that and want to do that.
Representation is so important. It's what we try and stand by at Photo Collective so much, and it's also what we try and teach at the college. I teach a photography studies college, and it's so important to say to the students, they come up with all these ideas of what they want to do when they start, and they all come from a good place, but you say, well, is that your story? Is that what right do you have to kind of go into that place? Whatever it is, whether it's, photographing a different culture or a different socioeconomic, people's, why do you want to go into that place? What is it about your life and your story that kind of relates to that? It needs to connect in some way because, there are people that are represented there or feel represented by other photographers going in, and that means so much more.
Yeah, and sometimes it's hard because, when you go into communities, if you've got a brief, especially from, a newspaper or something, they want a certain shot, which is always, that poverty porn type shot.
Yeah.
And you, being a black photographer, you just like, I can't do it.
Don't want to do that,
Do it. There must be another way you can do it,
100%.
But, that's the brief, that's what you're getting paid for. And then it becomes quite hard on you, with your own morals and that.
Yeah.
Well, it becomes a choice then, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And it happens right across the board I remember giving a photographer a job a number of years ago, and part of it was photographing in a laboratory the mice and the rabbits that they were testing the perfume on, and he just wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
So he shot everything else, and then I had to get somebody else that didn't worry them to shoot that little bit. And so you've got to stand up for what you believe in, and there's a word that we often are scared of, which is no. And I'm getting better at no. And you're going to be better at no this year.
Yes, this year I'll be better at no.
So standing up for what you believe in and shooting how you want to shoot, that's what it's all about, isn't it?
Yeah, and, capturing your community in the best light that possible,
So, yes, do you tell stories other than about your community? So tell us some of those. What else have you been doing? I'm fascinated.
Putting me on the spot of my memory right now. I'm actually, it is part of my community, but not directly. I've started doing a project with another lady, and it's about the Japanese internment camps. Well, internment in Broome during World War II, where a lot of the Japanese pearl divers were sent. They had a choice, go home or get sent to internment camp. But a lot of those Japanese divers had families with Indigenous people.
Oh, yeah.
So the families had to leave as well, and they had to go to like to Canberra and all this stuff. And so the families slowly came back to Broome. And so, you know, for them to find their identity of both being Indigenous in Broome but then also Japanese is quite hard. So there's an anniversary project that's worldwide about the internment stuff. And I'm doing just the Broome section.
Oh, that'd be so cool. And so interesting because I know that the history of pearling up there is so large, and there's the museum and things like that. And the old suits, I mean, I'm sure many of them didn't even survive in those. They were like metal, you know, huge big metal.
Yeah. So I'm actually photographing the descendants from those divers in like kimonos and stuff like that. So it's all,
okay.
And it'll be, you know, of the Broome landscape and the
So
Broome
we're coming
stuff.
to the opening. When is it?
Oh, God knows. I'm trying to make it in a documentary now. That's why I'm here.
Fantastic. Okay, so
this is the topic of the documentary.
One of them, yeah.
One of them.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
And what's it called?
Don't know yet. We'll see.
Okay.
If I get money, I'll come up with a title really quick.
This is what you're pitching this weekend.
Well, on the sly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, keep us abreast of all of that. That sounds really fascinating.
Yeah, and I mean, other stories, obviously, around Broome and that, and the dark history, you know, I do a lot that's,
Yeah.
But yeah.
The dark history?
Dark history of
to me about
the
that.
region, which, you know, a lot of the historic stuff that hasn't been told, you know, in the region and Broome.
As in the bad history?
Bad history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's, you know,
sorry.
goes past a few years back and then some just, you know, a couple of years. So I'm just trying to, you know, illuminate stories that's just been, you know, in the shadows, really.
How wonderful.
Yeah.
So important.
It's so important. It is so important.
You know, Broome never had a newspaper or anything for years, you know, until like 90s, I think. So only time you'd have stories from the region is when a journalist would travel north.
Yeah.
So now we've got a constant, you know, journalists, a few of them in town now. So, but before, so
That's
you wouldn't hear stories.
Same thing again. Someone from the outside is coming
Yeah,
in to tell a
much.
story and then leaving again.
Yeah.
Pretty much,
Yeah.
yeah.
Tell me, commercial work. What sort of commercial work do you shoot?
Fashion.
Next question.
everything.
No. So what?
Yeah, like-
you shoot a variety of things.
Yeah, variety of stuff.
Yeah? And how do you get your commercial work? Again, networking?
Being tenacious and
Yeah.
networking and yeah, that's pretty much it. And being in a location as well, you know, sometimes being in Broome helps when it's too expensive to send a photographer from Sydney. So
Okay, so people know about you up there. So is there like a tourism board or somewhere that, you know, like let's say a location search, you can go, listen, we need someone on the ground in Broome, who can we find? Or do you rely on a great website or tin-ass luck or...
well, it's
Help me
you know,
here, Michael.
I do have the Black Lens website, which does have a really basic directory.
Yep.
Obviously, a lot of people don't know about it, or you know, when I do,
They do now.
They do a Google search. It's a lot of photographers everywhere else except Broome, I guess.
Oh, well, I'll certainly be in touch if we need anything shot up there, because especially these days, you know, what I learnt during COVID, because one of my jobs is to find jobs for photographers and or all creatives, and during COVID we couldn't move through states, so it was like a job needed to be shot in Western Australia or it needed to be shot in New South Wales, and so I was ringing up photographers and saying, look, could you just look after my Melbourne photographer's client? And so it worked really well. So we were still able to shoot, and having people on the ground in different states is fantastic, and reaching out to people like myself and other organisations that are like ad agencies and design studios that want work up there. It's great.
Oh yeah, and I mean, look, each week, especially in the dry season, I always see a crew come in town and you know shooting for Qantas or anyone else. It's like, mustn't know I'm here, I guess. But then they ask me, you know, where the best locations, and I just should have hired me.
Yeah, exactly.
How much you got?
Yeah.
So it's all, you know, you can shout as much as you want. Sometimes it's the artistic director. They got friends, you know, come for a holiday.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's stuff you got to fight as well. So, yeah. But I get enough. I mean, it would be good to have more, but I do have a young family, so I can't be too busy.
Yeah, I was just going to touch on that actually, because, you've spoken a little bit about, the tenacity you have really of like going and getting the work and finding it, moving to Melbourne and putting your card in people's hands, essentially. So how does that, you do have a young family. How does that change things now? You said that you wanted to move back to Broome to be a present dad earlier. Is that how do you balance the two?
Well, before I met my current wife, I was very like doing that stuff. So she kind of walked into me being at the beginning of it all.
Yeah.
And said, "Well, this is what I'm doing." And
come for the ride or not.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
But there are moments, like sometimes I'd have to go really hard, and then sometimes I'd just, be more present at home.
Yeah.
So it's just a balance, really.
Is she creative? Be careful because she'll be listening.
Yes. She's a brilliant writer.
Oh, great.
But, she's stuck in a little circle of trying to do her own or first book or whatever she wants to do. So she's on that journey, but a brilliant writer. And I would love to collaborate more, but I've got no patience and I can't wait for her to find time to do the...
Well, you can wait and you will have to wait.
Well, sometimes I can't, and I've got to do it. And
it's so hard because I have a 11-year-old son, and I'm finally just starting to find room to be creative again. It's so hard when you have young children to kind of turn it on and turn it off. And people that do, like, you're saying that you can just go for it. I envy that, but I can empathise with your wife.
Yeah.
But also,
can't quite get.
Yeah, I can empathise with her too. But I don't think you should say I don't have the. Well, you can say whatever you like, but saying you don't have the patience, I always look at life as what is right for. We talked about this before. What is right for me now in my life? But in 10 years' time, that would be really, will be quite different. And as an empty nester myself, you have all this extra time, and maybe that's when your wife and you can collaborate.
Yeah, I mean, I
wish you could see
when she finds
Michael's
the time,
face right
getting me
now.
in trouble. No, look, she's
Can we have a
busy
name?
being
Can we have
a
a
beautiful
name?
at-home mum, and she does a lot, and she works as well.
Brilliant.
So, I keep telling her, like, you don't have to rush it. When it happens, it happens. You just have to start that journey.
Yeah,
you know what
absolutely.
I mean?
And where do you see the Black Lens going further? What else do you see happening with the Black Lens?
It's more of a community where it's more than one head, like a few of them have to lead as well, which is starting to happen. And, it's because I don't want it to be one voice, which is my voice. I'd really pushing others to be more vocal and push what they want to see at Black Lens going, and which is happening now. It takes time because, people have to be encouraged to take that leadership role and then to use their voice in that regard.
Well, you talked about confidence before as well, and becoming a leader or becoming a part of any organisation, it takes the confidence and feeling really good about yourself, and that I actually can talk out and I do have an opinion and people might be interested in it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And for me, I really am that person. I'll just push them in those positions to speak, because
Okay, I've just done it. The podcast in Broome, it's about the Black Lens. Hello. It's just happening.
Yeah, but you never know. You might see a doco about it, a series.
Will we be on it?
Could be.
Okay.
But yeah, it's great to be part of something, and I think everyone who's creative should really try not to be in a silo.
Yes.
You need to work with others.
Yeah.
And I really saw the value of that. Coming out from Broome, and working with others, even if it is just having conversations over a coffee, really helps. And it shows that connection, and that connection really helps, I guess, give you clarity of where you want to go.
Absolutely.
And I think everyone should really do that more instead of just looking on social media and, I guess, in a negative view, and saying, oh, wow, look at that person do that stuff. It's like, instead of putting them down, actually ask them, how'd you get there?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, I want to be there. How'd you do it?
Michael,
because I feel like it's also, you know, you get not only advice, but you hear yourself talk about what you want, and then you can kind of, when you vocalize it, you can either double down on it or you can decide that actually maybe that's not the right path.
Yeah.
But you need to be vocalizing what you want to do as well, and you don't do that by sitting at home in a room behind a desk.
Do you see yourself as an educator?
Not really.
Not in the formal sense, but within the group?
I've done training in a formal sense. And
what was that?
Hard and painful. So I'd rather do it more on a casual basis and really...
But within the group I'm talking about.
Oh, within the group, it is more about, you know, conversations and showing what I've done, the mistakes, and how I've... and just how everyone can help each other, you know. It's more about that. And because, you know, you do have to go through a trial and error process, you know, but sometimes you just say, look, no, learn from me. You can do it that way, but that'll be costly and take you a long time, or you can do it this way. But also don't be like me, because you've got to be individual, right? So that's one of the biggest things in educating other photographers and working collaboratively. You know, when people go, oh gosh, when I grow up, I want to be like Michael, or I want to be like this person. And it's like, you can be like that person in the way they see the world and their morals and their connection, but also have your individual approach. Don't try and emulate me as my photography. Yeah, and it's probably more important to really show, you know, when you are talking about what you've done, not just the end product, it's the journey there.
It's absolutely right.
They might go, actually, that is what I want to do.
Yeah. And
it might not work for me, but it'll work for you.
Like I'm not going to go and be educated. I'm not going to do this. And I think that's where mentors come in. A lot of young photographers think I've got to have a photographer as a mentor. And yes, I think part of that is really important, but just having good people with a good, strong moral compass and an interest in world politics or life or whatever it might be, that same interests, that's what's really important in a mentor as well. And you could be mentoring young architects or other people as well, because they are connected to you as a person and how you see life. Yeah. And what your journey, that's beautiful.
And
your journey.
Sometimes having a mentor is not for everyone, you know. You know, they might think, I need a mentor to you know, expand their business and whatnot, or photography. But sometimes, no, you don't need a mentor. You just might need one bit of advice and that's it. You know, you don't need that constant advice all the time or to rely on someone, you know.
Yep.
Which then can be quite hard on the mentee and the mentor, you know.
Absolutely.
So at this point, Michael, we're pretty much at the end of our time.
We could keep talking forever.
Gone very quickly. But we want to finish by asking the same question we're asking everyone on this season, which is, what does the future of photography look like for you?
For me, I'll never stop taking photos. For me, is leaving a legacy for my kids. So they'll inherit a lot of expensive camera gear. Hopefully they use it and not sell it. But to be honest, seeing a whole black industry of photographers is my dream.
Yeah.
And when I can sit back and just see photographers everywhere, and to know that I was a small part of that would be, more than anything. Because there's a lot of stories that need to be told by us black photographers, because our people in this country has always been told through a white lens. Yeah. Be it scientifically or newsworthy or any other way. It's about time that we actually tell all those stories in our own way.
Is there something that, like, so, you know, we are two white women running this podcast, and I run Photo Collective, and we're three white people running Photo Collective. And is there anything that we can do sort of as white people living in Australia that can help bring representation? Or is that something, I don't know if that's a loaded question or if that's a funny question to ask, but I think it's something like, I'm always trying to educate myself, and, you know, it's only by asking questions like this that you can, you know, receive feedback from.
I think, to be honest, is just to reach out to a black photographer and just have a discussion,
Yeah.
a conversation. You don't have to give them your house, but, just...
Hey, look what we're doing now.
Yeah, exactly.
We've done it. Bang.
And, I mean,
It's
you
interesting.
can imagine, yourselves as being, not just white but females wanting to get into photography and the importance of a female lens,
representation.
Hey, listen, I studied photography in the 80s,
So, yeah.
How long have you got?
Yeah. So you know the importance
Yes,
of it.
I do,
you know,
absolutely. And we've certainly had our own fights and struggles over the years and things that you don't talk about these days, I sometimes talk about stuff that happened back in those days and people are just like, what? And we just went, but we had, like you, we just had to push through and we got on with it and
has to be
made
done.
stuff happen.
Yeah, it has to be done. And you just need people who are trailblazers, but then you also need people to follow, and that's the important part, is getting enough people to follow.
Oh, well, we are so thrilled that you've come down to talk to us today and
Thank you
taken
so
time
much,
out from your
Michael.
conference.
Yeah, it's amazing to have you in the room as well. It's just,
And,
it feels great.
It is.
Like I've known you for a few years and we've worked together on Zoom before and it's great to actually have met you in person.
Absolutely. And I've been in a Zoom conference with you before where we just sat there and it was just really nice to meet you in person, as Harry said. And we are coming to Broome. I don't care what you're saying. We'll make it happen. Okay.
Yeah, I'll have a tent ready for you.
Yeah. I lived in a tent, bright green tent in the mangrove caravan park for a long time. So I can do it. I can do tent.
No worries.
All right, darling. Thank you so very much, Michael.
Thanks, Michael.
Thanks, Harry. What a fabulous episode again.
Yeah.
And we'll see you next time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Michael.
Wow, wasn't that another fantastic episode?
So much fun.
And Harry, none of this is possible without the fantastic help we've had from, take it away.
Shaquille Raymond, what a rock star audio engineer.
I like that. Martin Stevens, my husband, for his guitar prowess on the intros and outros. And Shani Power, who is doing all of the behind-the-scenes photos and design of everything to do with the Instagram posts. Thank you all so very much to help us get our podcast out.
We'll see you on the next one.
We will. It's been wonderful, Harry. Thanks, darling. Bye-bye.
Bye.